Hello, this is Coded Chaos Cosplay. I am Jasmine.
And I'm Jessie.
So, after years of cosplaying and going to conventions, we thought it would be a good idea to start reviewing them.
Because conventions are getting really popular, and we feel like our experiences with things like that could be useful for someone who's just starting out. Because we've been to some really crappy conventions, and if we can help it, we want to prevent some little wee cosplayer going through the same stuff we went through.
But also, there's a lack of convention reviews that really, really are sad.
The reviews are sad?
No, the lack of reviews. Because I know if you look at different conventions now, you're like, oh, I'm gonna pay $40 for a ticket and then go for no content. I think that's kind of what happened to us at quite a few different ones. And now that they're popping up like daisies or those weird kiosks in the mall that sometimes will sell you good things and sometimes won't sell you very good things.
The majority of them are crap.
Yeah, that's how the conventions really have been lately. And we're going to be talking about Ocala Comic Con, which was held in Ocala, Florida. What was your... if you could give Ocala Comic Con one word, how would you describe it?
A word I can't use because we're trying to keep this a decent rating. But otherwise, absolute shit. It's technically 2 words, but there is no other way to describe it without ruining your rating system.
I'm describing it as a sauna.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that works for the atmosphere of it, but for the overall thing, it was a shitty sauna. I guess. I don't know.
We have 3 main criteria for conventions. One being the venue. And this is more of how does the venue hold up as both a cosplayer and an attendee. Because sometimes, I mean, I did it before. I would go to conventions out of cosplay. Did you ever do that?
Honestly, no.
You cosplayed every day.
I have literally never. I mean, even last year, the one day I thought I wasn't going to, I just pulled myself together and got into Sophie. I have literally never gone out of cosplay to a convention.
I used to only cosplay on Friday and Saturday and do nothing on Sunday because I was too tired.
I mean, I've always been tired, but I've always pulled myself together because otherwise I got looked like... I imagine you would just get looked at really weird. Like, why are you here if you're not cosplaying? Because I've looked at people like that myself.
But then there are people that go and they're just attendees. And they're just there to...
Yeah, but that's them. That's not me. I've been doing this for almost 12 years, dang it. I don't intend to start now.
Well, our first criteria is venue. And as a cosplayer and an attendee, we look at this in that way of... How was the venue? Was it good
Awful.
for photos? Was it good to navigate? Did it have enough bathrooms in it?
No.
I think the venue could be described as
awful.
Walking into a sardine can. Because I literally walked into the lobby, which we found out later that the lobby was not just a lobby, but a main restaurant area. And it was just full of people. Like, I did not believe how many people I walked into.
You walk in through the main entrance, and it's over by where you would check in for the hotel portion of it. And then you turn to the right, and you're met with bodies upon bodies upon bodies, all smashed together in this little teeny tiny hallway. And you keep thinking, God, maybe it'll get better. Just get further into the building. Spoiler alert, it doesn't get better.
I think
it gets smaller.
I think my favorite part was we found out to get your badge, or, well, wristband in this case, you had to go outside past the pool that everyone...
Looked amazing.
And you had to go into a tent, which...
A literal godforsaken tent set up in the backyard, basically.
Like, I can say the tent looked nice on the inside. They had that set up wonderfully, and there was a couple other tents out there. I don't know what was in them.
It was too hot to go find out.
Yeah, it was hitting 90, 98, around there.
The last time I checked, at one point in the day, it was over 100 degrees. And it felt like it.
Oh, nice.
I'm in a short dress, and I'm overheating.
Yeah, once you got your wristband, which the place for registration sat right next to the main stage for main events, which to me was just odd.
Did they have main events, though?
That's what that tent was called, main events.
I know, but I failed to see what event took place in that tent.
The Drake Bell concert that you had to pay extra for.
Oh, please tell me it didn't actually take place in that.
I'm pretty sure it took place in there.
Oh, God.
Well,
I'm in pain just thinking of it.
The rest of the convention was held in the... Was it a Hilton?
I don't know.
Yeah, it was a Hilton.
There's so many hotels.
It was a Hilton at Ocala, which if you parked at the Lowe's parking lot, you could get away with not paying $5.
You had to walk, like, it felt like half a mile. When you're in heels, it feels a lot longer.
Oh, yeah.
It was awful.
But it wasn't bad. It was doable.
It was doable.
But my thing was from the lobby in through to the dealer's room was just hot. You walked into this building thinking, oh, I'm going to get hit with this wave of air conditioning.
No, you're not.
You walked into a slightly less warm area.
And as you continue walking, like I said, you're crammed in, kind of like Jasmine said, like sardines in a can. And you keep thinking, it's going to get better. The hallways are going to, they're going to widen out and it's going to be easier to walk. And no, it's not. It never got easier and it never got wider.
It was a L-shaped hallway that I think the panel rooms were those doors that were kept closed.
To the left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
they were kept closed because they had the air conditioning.
At least we think so. I know that one little nook that there were a few guest artists.
They were kept nice and cool.
Because they were the guests.
We were guests. We were paying guests.
No, you weren't. You were the guests that were paying the main guests.
That's what I'm
saying.
There. We were paying attendee guests. You would think that you're going to accommodate them just as much because they're the ones that help you pay for those other guests.
They didn't care.
I noticed.
And we have a con friend in the dealer's room who told us that morning when she got there to set everything up.
It was hot.
And it just kept growing in just temperature. I know going into the bathroom and such, that was at least somewhat cooler, but not by much.
I mean, it was decent. I mean, I was able to sit in front of, like, the vanity area, which was really cute, by the way. And it was easy to sit there and be like, wow, let's take a break from the convention. Until you look around and you realize, I'm taking a break in a bathroom. This is pathetic.
I know they had some food areas set up, but they didn't tell you that they had food trucks outside. There was no indication. I found out
there was a Facebook post about it.
Oh, a Facebook post?
Yes, there was a Facebook post.
Where you barely got internet at this place?
Yes, there was a Facebook post that they were going to have. I don't think they actually posted the day of, but they did post a list of the food trucks that were going to attend. But there was no signage, no nothing.
I don't even know where these were located. We found out from
back behind the tent in the backyard.
So probably the other two little tents and such.
Potentially. I know one of the tents had LARPing in it.
Okay, that's at least pretty cool. That
they were out. Remember the group that went, I want to say right before me?
You mean the huge group?
Yeah, they were part of the LARPing ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know the
I saw them hitting each other shortly after the contest.
I know that the hotel really tried in that way of providing food, but it was the worst food I've ever ate.
Look, I like hot dogs. This was not a hot dog. I don't know what this was. This was disgusting.
Mystery meat dog?
Man, I thought that's what hot dogs were on a normal basis. But these were the nastiest hot dogs I've ever eaten in my life.
And I found out that there was a brisket stand
out behind a tent in the backyard, but they didn't advertise it.
I would have went to that in a heartbeat. And it served macaroni and cheese.
I would have gone to the macaroni and cheese, but everything was touching, so I probably wouldn't have gone for that.
The other thing was, as a photographer and a cosplayer, I really love being able to take photos. And there was really no location for this at all. First of all, I didn't see any of the con attendees taking photos of each other, which is really sad.
I saw a couple, but for the most part, it was too hot. I thought about taking pictures of some cosplayers, but just like the motion of trying to dig into the camera bag and dig out my phone, I feel like I sweat a little more just thinking about it.
And on another idea that I had, I am like 90% sure, on top of them breaking fire codes for them putting so many people in there, I cannot imagine someone who was in a wheelchair trying to get back to the dealer's hall. As someone who's visually impaired, I think of handicap situations, and there was nothing. There's no indication to tell you what's where in case you were deaf or anything like that. There was nothing for people. Like, honestly, could you see a wheelchair trying to go back to that dealer's hall?
I saw. There were a couple people that were in the wheel, like the scooters, the automated scooter. I don't know. There were a couple people in those, and I watched them have to fight to get into anywhere. Because part of the problem is, this convention, the demographic was very young.
Well, that's our next
and
topic.
And sadly, well, we're just moving right along then.
Well, it'll segue perfectly.
Because sadly, the younger generations, it seems like, don't quite understand being a decent person yet. They're so young that it does not register in their brain, oh, someone in a wheelchair or a scooter is coming this way. We should probably, move. They don't do that. I watch these people struggle and have to be like, can I get through? If you're in an automated scooter or a wheelchair or whatever they're called, you should never have to do that.
I have to agree. And that brings up the next thing, which is the demographic and just people in general. Because I put like staff members into this category, the attendees into this category, and even the hotel staff.
Honestly, a lot of people at this convention sucked. Be it attendees, the staff, the volunteers, what have you, they sucked.
I feel like there were good and bad points to this, and yes, could people have just been moody because of how hot it was?
Oh, that's a definite possibility.
But I do believe whenever I started going to conventions, I was at 16, so I thankfully have this rule applied to me. And that was where if you were under 16 years old, you had to be accompanied by a parent or legal guardian throughout the convention.
I mean, I started going at 14, so my mom took me. Except for 1 year, my friend took me. But she could pass for my older sister.
I mean, that's fine, but still.
I was 15 and she was like 18, so she wasn't any more mature than I was. The only difference was she could drive.
A slightly older adult helping you around. But the problem was the demographic was very low, and I think it was because of the BNHA craze that is really, really popular right now. They've kind of taken over becoming the new Italians or Homestucks.
I know the Italian fandom was bad. I know it was. I was part of it. I was not part of the bad portion of it.
At least we think we weren't.
No, I wasn't.
We probably annoyed some people out there.
But I didn't do anything that was annoying because at the time I hadn't grown into my own. So I stood in a corner and was quiet. So I know I wasn't part of the bad eggs in the fandom. I was the one that people probably looked at.
You're not a real fan. You don't do anything.
No, I do not, because I am more mature than you, and I understand when my presence is wanted and when it is not.
Yeah, I was almost kissed by a France cosplayer during a photo shoot because I was England. And I got very, very concerned for my
I wish my
well-being.
face was visible right now, because I am horrified.
And then for the Homestucks, which I was not part of, but I had some friends, I had buckets thrown at me, which that's just mortifying right there.
But I know how bad some fandoms can get. And I feel like the BNHA fandom is rapidly, ascending to that in, the worst ways possible.
So there was a lot of fans for that, and some of them were really nice.
Yeah, there were some that were older. I had one gal who was dressed as Aizawa, and I don't think you were sitting. I think you were doing Bean Cosplay's pictures at the time.
Probably.
And I'm just sitting there, and this was after we'd eaten our lunch, and I was dressed as Gem, and this woman came up to me, and she was like, I know you're hot. I know you're taking a break, so I'm not going to ask for your picture. But I just want to tell you, I am so happy to see you. You are beautiful. I love your costume, and I am so happy that Original Gem is getting representation. And in the same breath, there was another Aizawa cosplayer. It was a young kid, and they walked up and were like,
Why are you dressed as me? This isn't fair.
and I'm like, oh my God, it's happening right in front of me. Oh my God.
And then, why is it Aizawa's? Because it was the Aizawa that hit Bean in the head.
It was the same Aizawa.
Oh, dear Lord.
Yes, it was the exact same Aizawa.
Why are you dressed as me?
Oh, child.
But, that does come into where the staff did take it seriously when Bean went up and said, hey, this person did hit me. And
Bean had been harassed all day. He was part of a group of BNHA villains. And this particular Aizawa and their little posse, I guess if you want to go with that word, they harassed his group so much that they left early. They literally walked up to him and were like, look, we're leaving. We can't handle this. And they left him. Thankfully, he'd come to the convention with us, so he didn't have to leave early. And then we're sitting there getting ready to get in line for the competition, and we just see he looks devastated. And he's crying, and we're like, what's the matter? He had literally gotten hit in the face by, we don't know what it was, but this Aizawa cosplayer hit him in the face and in the head. And he was devastated because he had done nothing to them this entire day, and all he was doing was getting harassed.
which needs to really be monitored by the con staff. There needs to be people walking around a lot more seeing, hey, things like this are going on. Yeah, they're not going to catch everything, but I've been to enough conventions where it is easier to catch. Like, they've caught them before and have stopped them saying, hey, you really need to respect people's boundaries. There's a warning now for you.
Yeah.
or toward you.
And I will say, when he reported it, the gal that he reported it to took it serious and ended up kicking out that entire small group. Yeah, it was only 2 hours till the convention closed for the day, but still, she took initiative and she kicked them out, which I respect her for that.
I believe she went in and talked to a couple people who witnessed it as well.
Yes. She talked to the group. They tried to lie about it and say, oh, it never happened. I don't know what his problem is. But other people saw it. Other people in the row saw it. And she went and talked to them. And they confirmed what Bean said.
So, yes, don't just start arguing with these people. Please report it to con staff and security, because they will do their job, which is what they're volunteering or paid to do. So, the staff members were good. There were some...
If you could catch the right staff members.
Yeah, if you could catch the right staff members, or who was informed. Because there were quite a few who just were ill-informed. So our friend Kat asked the people that were up at the wristband station. That's what I'm calling it. Yeah, I paid $20 per wristband for this convention.
I paid $20 for a nasty hot dog and to watch my friend get harassed all day. And then just to sit around and do nothing because I'm so hot I can't move.
But those staff members, she had asked them, hey, where's the sign-ups for the cosplay competition? Because she was really excited for that. They told her just come back at 5 or 4?
4.
4. And you can sign up then. Well, she took it at face value. We went through the convention. Saw nothing for it. No one was advocating for anything. When we were sitting down eating our lunch, there was a family that sat beside us who said they had signed up for the competition, and we're like, where did you sign up? They're like, oh yeah, we asked around 8 people, and they finally told us it's back in the dealer's room. There's a little booth when you first walk in. Yeah, I wasn't going to try and get back to that booth at all. It just was not going to happen. So we just reported to the tent at 4, and they kind of told us, hey, you probably missed sign-ups. Which just, I do
Chapped our asses.
I just do not understand their disorganization. Which, the hotel staff wasn't bad, though. I didn't have a problem with them. They just didn't do anything.
We talked to the hotel staff?
Well, there was that one that I was taking pictures of you guys down that hallway, and I almost ran into the one.
Oh, yeah. No, she was really nice.
So, our last criteria is content, and...
What's that? Because I didn't notice any.
I think the biggest thing is, I'm pretty sure this convention is run by, or if not, heavily inspired by the people that run Collective Con in Jacksonville. And these conventions are good for the everyday person who just wants to see what a convention is and not really go for anything in particular. The content is very, if you want to say, mediocre. They get guests in that are really high dollar ones at times, because they advertised Drake Bell as a guest.
They advertised him as a guest, but then you get there and he's only doing the concert. You have to pay a butt ton extra for said concert. And then if you want to meet him, you have to pay even more on top of that. And it was really shitty advertising.
And then you have, I know Collective Con, they had before someone from The Hobbit, they had people from Game of Thrones, they had things like that. They have these really high dollar guests that really entice you in, and then they get people to be vendors and things like that. However, they don't cater to the seasoned con goer. Because at this point, I would consider myself very seasoned.
Hi, I've been going to conventions for almost 12 years. this Anime Weekend Atlanta will mark 12 years. I'm pretty sure at this point I'm a seasoned convention goer, and I feel old saying that out loud.
These conventions are really good, but they're not for the cosplayers. They're not for going to a convention, really. Like,
I mean,
to go.
they're for cosplayers. We had fun when we went to Collective. We for the most part had fun on Sunday more so, because we found other cosplayers from the same stuff that we were doing. So they're good cosplayers as long as they're held at the right venue.
And I also can say what really kind of speaks for itself is the good memories we have of these is with the people we were with or we had met and became friends with, opposed to the convention itself or the content itself. I say about panels because we had a few friends that were trying to apply for a Steven Universe panel just as a fun little thing. They said, no, we do not want your content. I kind of assumed that Ocala was a very similar situation because finding the panels online, we didn't really see many, would you say homemade panels at this point? Because that's kind of what they seem like at times. Like, the panels we do at conventions, I call more homemade, meaning they're a little bit more raw. They're not an industry guest or
a fan panel. They're a fan panel to a point, but ours are always about body positivity and how to survive cosplay contests and props and stuff like that. So ours don't cater to any particular fandom. So I guess homemade. Yeah, I mean, we're just going to call them homemade panels from now on.
I call them homemade because it's someone who's just very passionate about something. They don't seem to want these kind of things. They just want you to come and they're going to hire, or I say hire, they're going to get guests that are...
But technically they are hiring them for the weekend.
Yeah. They're getting cosplayers and who they deem as good enough for them. And because of that, I feel they're losing touch with some of the demographic that could be coming to the convention or who are coming to the convention. And it's just very sad. But when they don't have any type of printed schedule, at least not that we were granted, there was no person saying, take this, you might enjoy Ocala a little bit more. It's not safe to go alone.
I was going to say it's boring to go alone, take this.
Basically, yes.
It seemed like there was no one there that was overly proud of the work they were doing at that convention. I didn't see any convention staff saying, like, hey, there's this going on, there's this, don't forget about the contest. There was none of that. We only knew what time the contest was because we checked the schedule online. They were not giving out schedules on the premises. And we had talked to someone, this family who was sitting at the table next to us. They were like, yeah, you're supposed to meet there at 4. That's the only reason we knew what anything was. We did not have any idea what panels were going to be there. We didn't know where panels were. We didn't actually know what guests showed up. There was nothing. Nobody took pride in that convention.
I think as well, you really saw it with the cosplay contest. And normally that is a huge, huge event at conventions. I know at AFO, Anime Festival Orlando,
that is their centerpiece of their thing. They are so proud of it.
Like, as a contestant in that contest, we didn't have anywhere to sit. We barely had room to stand. I know WasabiCon was kind of the same point.
Yeah.
They did not know what to do with us afterwards because so many people were there.
And I was in a giant ball gown, so they couldn't just sit me down. And they were like, I don't know, go wait out in the hallway. We were like, hey, thanks. Because they were supposed to leave space for us in the back, but it was so popular. There were so many chairs open at Ocala. There was next to nobody there.
And they got through their cosplay contest so unbelievably fast. And yeah, this is another reason why I say they're just in it for just the everyday person, because it's not treated as a traditional cosplay contest.
There's no prejudging. You don't talk to the judges. You don't say really anything except you go on stage, you tell them your name, you tell them who you're cosplaying, and then they say, well, is there anything that you want to tell us? No, actually, there's not. Because you guys should be doing your jobs and asking me questions beforehand. I should not have to take the microphone from you and give you a rundown on how I made something. That's not enjoyable for me, and that is not enjoyable for the MC or the people that have to watch it.
I know a lot of times you can even find where they're saying, did you make your costume? Do you want to show it off? They advertise things like that, but the issue is they don't check to see who's done that, truthfully.
No.
And yeah, a bunch of little kids going up there. That was cute. Like,
it was adorable.
I love the little kids. That's a whole different thing. If you're going to market it as the cosplay contest, okay, just say it's a make, buy, just wear a costume and come up there. And you might get an award. I don't see it as a craftsmanship competition, and I never will, because that's just not what they are. However, a lot of people go solely to see craftsmanship competitions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, sadly, we lose that quite a bit. These kind of pop-up ones are more whatever. So yeah, we left the convention 2 hours before closing on Saturday. No, an hour before closing on Saturday.
No, it was about an hour and a half before closing, and we didn't get there till almost 1 o'clock. So we only stayed there for a total of 4.5 hours, and we were miserable from almost the moment we walked in.
So I say, and personally, I would not go back to Ocala.
I would not go back, and I would not recommend it.
No, I give it like
a 3.
Okay, you know the cute little hearts in Zelda? Like,
they get maybe 1.
I'm giving them a half of a heart out of 3.
Savage. I was going to give him a 3 out of like 10.
Okay, we'll give it a 30%. It's not... It takes skill to get 30% on your tests. And they did it. I personally think it's not a good convention to attend. I think I would put my money elsewhere. However, I can say if they got a decent guest in, I could entertain the thought process for a hot minute.
Hot, because that's what you're going to be when you walk in those doors.
As for constructive criticism, I feel they could really do with a new venue change or a better proportioned venue.
That's still a venue change.
Yeah. And
a venue change, and take more pride in what you're doing.
Like, I'm sorry to say it this way, but can I buy you one of the $5 stacks of printer paper that's at Walmart so that you could print out
a schedule?
Like, just print a schedule.
Or a map?
Heck, even tell me what kind of schedule you would like, because I can use Excel and I can make you a nice little schedule. Heck, you have a schedule online posted deep within the crevices of your website, and it's just, you could just easily put that on a piece of paper and give it to people. Or heck, print it out on a couple bigger sheets and put it around the convention so people could see it. But yeah, that's a thing that would really, really help the convention. And then I think as well, looking at what other conventions are doing, where they are succeeding, and do similar things to that. Put some more pride into the cosplay contest. If you want to have it to where both people can do, like, bought costumes and made costumes, have 2 separate ones. We see that at other conventions quite often. Look at Amelia Island. Was it Amelia Island Comic Con?
Something like that. I don't
Something.
know.
They had 2 separate things for that. It was wonderful. Because that was very inclusive to people. But please, just put more pride into things. Would you like to sign out since I started?
We don't even know how we're signing out.
Well, that was our review.
Well, that was our review.
I hope you enjoyed, and maybe it helped you, maybe it didn't. Maybe it was just entertaining to hear us bicker and complain and say what a lovely time we had.
Sardines.
In a can that was put in the middle of the earth and is slowly boiling. Like, I think Satan is holding that can.
Okay, that's enough. That's enough. That's enough.
I think our next convention is Wasabi.
Yeah.
So unless something pops up before that.
Ancient City.
Oh yeah, Ancient City is next. So we will be doing a review on that one. That's
Far in the future.
Far in the future, but we're going to come up with different topics to go on about. Thank you for listening. If you listen through the whole thing, I give you so many props.
Bless you, children.
Bye.